Welcome everybody. I'm standing here on an empty market square early in the morning in front of a house that used to belong to Dutch composer Diepenbrock. At IVC today there are no public events, but behind the scenes everyone is working madly. The singers are preparing with the pianists, the jurors are freshening up their brains so they can form the best possible opinions for the semi-finals tomorrow. The staff is finding out if the proposed music of the 16 semi-finalists is actually available for orchestra. But on the outside, it's all calm today. Therefore, I had the chance to talk to two jury members, Damià Carbonell Nicolau, the head of the artistic affairs of the Dutch National Opera, and Paul McNamara, head of the Dutch National Opera Academy. Enjoy their wisdom. We are sitting here at Hotel Centraal, which is a big supporter of the IVC for a long time. All the jury members and the team of IVC are staying in this hotel. And I'm sitting here with Paul McNamara. He's a tenor and head of the DNOA, which stands for Dutch National Opera Academy. Welcome, Paul.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. Thank you for making time for doing this little interview. Off the bat, don't think about it too much. What is inspiring you these days?
I think the talent and the large number of young singers who, in spite of the difficult challenges of this very wonderful career, if one is lucky to have it, their desire and enthusiasm to pursue this path, their courage, I find that very, very moving and actually very inspiring.
You've said before that you don't really have an own story with competitions. You haven't had much of a competition journey.
That is a very specific story because at the time when I was finishing my studies at the Royal College of Music in London, I had started initially as a bass baritone, and then at the time of my formal studies it was suggested I do a change of fach to tenor. So that took a number of years, which meant at an age when I would have done competitions, I was actually sort of
changing
fach, back retraining. And again, I think it's one of the really fantastic things about IVC, and it should be said, is that the age limits actually allow singers sufficient time to develop, to study. So it's not just this emphasis on your early 20s, and if you're not so far at that point, then bad luck.
Pity. Yeah.
So it's very, very good to have the opportunity to hear such a wide range of singers at different points in their trajectory.
Yeah.
Because it's actually, the market demands maybe the same, but the journey for each singer is of course very, very individual, and that's the challenge for everybody starting these days is, how do you pursue your own journey, in your own path in the context of a market where the expectations are extremely high, and particularly the time pressure is very high.
Yes. Maybe we can say a little bit about, in the DNOA, but also watching these people, how much you tackle or have any tips for people who are struggling with stage psychology, their inner critics. Does DNOA put extra attention on that? Do you have any tips for that?
I think a lot of young singers spend a lot of time learning how to sing. And they think, first I will learn how to sing, that will be like the silver bullet, when I can sing everything else will be fine. what doesn't happen often enough is that parallel to learning how to sing, all these other skills, and that has to do with dealing with auditions, dealing with nerves, dealing with pressure. In our audition training module, when I talk with singers, I always say, what are auditions about? And generally speaking, people say, it's about joy. Oh, it's about showing I can sing. But actually, it's also about showing that you can deal with pressure, because ultimately, casting directors, conductors, colleagues, everybody wants to be working with people who can deal with the pressure. So that actually, instead of having a work environment where people are, firefighting, that actually people can get on with what they're meant to be doing, which is actually creating art and making music.
Yeah.
So at the Damià Noir, we do a lot of audition training, which involve, in all its aspects, with performance anxiety, but also about learning about repertoire, tactical repertoire. I mean, it is interesting at competitions, but auditions as well for, when people audition for our program or elsewhere, that younger singers often make the mistake of, of choosing repertoire that they would like to be able to sing.
Yes.
As opposed to actually what they can do now.
Or to make a list that's kind of full and whole, but they can't really present everything in all the pieces.
No, and very often it's somebody else's list.
Yes.
They hear somebody
Their wish
say,
list.
well, they oh, X sang that in that competition, won first prize. It's a really good competition area. I'll do that one.
Yeah.
Which actually is not really sensible. The most important thing really is to be able to show what you can do now.
Yeah.
You can give a hint as to where it might go, but it needs to be very, very
small and delicate.
Very, very carefully thought out and considered. Also, this thing of balance within a program. If you have to put together a list for an audition of 3 to 5 to 8 arias, you need to get a balance, because you will find people who say, that's a good list, let's hear them all. And then it becomes like running a marathon. So you really the opportunity in auditioning or doing a competition is actually to communicate to people who are listening that you have a very clear sense of who you are and what you can do.
Yeah, and that's of course forming during those first years, and you can be insecure about that or not so sure yet.
Auditioning or a competition, it is pressure, but every time you get up as a singer to do a concert or go to the opera, it is also a pressure. It is part of your life to learn how to deal with that. What you need to do is sort of create circumstances where the pressure isn't too great. And the important thing is really routine. I mean, everything that is challenging, the more often you do it, the easier it becomes.
The easier it gets, yeah. As to a little bit about the Wagner Prize we have here, because I know you have sung a lot of Wagner in your life. Is it a good thing this prize is here?
What people forget all the time is that when Wagner was writing his operas, there was not a Wagner singer. They were all there was many of those singers sang roles by Meyerbeer. Who does that now? So I think it's very, very important for younger singers to explore a broad range of repertoire in order to find what is appropriate for now, what might be appropriate in a number of years' time. But it's one of the big challenges for young singers, what repertoire to sing at sing in a competition. And if the options at the competition are so limited that it has to be Mozart and nothing else, then what is somebody with a larger voice going to do?
Yeah.
They also need a forum where they can say, this is where I am at now. Nobody expects a singer to come at 29 and sort of say, this is the ultimate Brunhilde. But competitions like this are really also a forum for exploration and for singers to try things out, and also really importantly to get feedback. Because there's a large panel here of extremely experienced industry specialists, artists, singers, and it's a very good chance for the young singers to actually road test something and try it out. And a competition, even the best and the longest established competitions, are not an end point. No. They're a point on a particular. It's a point on a particular journey, and I think it's also important for the young singers to remember that.
Thank you so much, Paul, for your time.
Pleasure is mine.
Good. I will quickly get out of my Irish colour green and put on another dress to meet Damià Carbonell. He's waiting for me outside. Hello everyone, I'm here with Damià Carbonell on an empty market square in the middle of Den Bosch. Welcome, Damià.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, for the people at home, can you say a little bit about what exactly does your job entail?
Well, I'm the hoofdartistieke zaken, that you say here in the Netherlands, is the head of artistic administration in the Dutch National Opera.
Yes.
And I got this position in 2019. I started in January 2019. And together with the director of the opera, I'm in charge of the programming and then of the artistic planning. And then on top of it, I, together with Sophie Delin, the director of the opera, we do the casting, and then I'm in charge of the boring things such as the budgeting and all these things. And then I try to make possible that the dreams of Sophie Delin get real.
Come true, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's in more or less my job, is that when we decide to build a season, then the season is feasible and we can present everything that we want.
Yeah, beautiful. You are very multi-educated though. You have a background in finance, in voice, in instruments.
Actually, I'm a musician.
Exactly.
I have my degree in piano and I did also singing.
Yes.
And violin and conducting, but then I realized that I'm not a stage person, and I did a master in music business, and I was in Barcelona doing this master in music business and in a university, and then I started in 2006 in the Opera House in Barcelona in the artistic administration as an assistant.
Okay, and then so you worked in Barcelona, in Madrid, basically what you're doing here in Amsterdam right now, and I want to know what in Amsterdam is something you can do that maybe you could never do in Spain.
Well, indeed, the Opera House in Amsterdam is particular because we are a producing house and we produce a lot.
Exactly.
That's the big difference between Amsterdam and my previous houses, Barcelona and Madrid, when they present also opera, but they produce less. So they rent, the productions from other theaters,
right.
And that's the big difference between Amsterdam. So in a way, I think it's more challenging here because we have also these fantastic workshops that allow us to build our own productions. That's the big difference between Amsterdam and my previous opera houses in Spain.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know that Amsterdam does a lot for the future of opera. They do Opera Forward. They put always something on the program that maybe people do not know yet.
Exactly.
Is that something that distinguishes Amsterdam?
That's also one of the, I would say, one of the characteristics or the particularities of Amsterdam, that we do this Opera Forward Festival in which we try to bring the opera to their limits. It means that we present new ways of producing, we present new operas that maybe in other you know, in my previous houses, for example, it would be very difficult to present because it's see how we can experiment with opera as the art form. So I think indeed that's a particularity of Amsterdam, and which makes also more challenging to work here, because then sometimes you have to present things that you are not used to produce, and it's also new for the whole house.
For the whole team.
For the whole team, yeah.
And they have to be a little bit educated.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's always a learning.
Maledetta indifferenza mi fa perder la pazienza. Qui non serve alla francese, non capacita l'inglese, non mi piace l'italiana. Oh, che umor, che donna strana, io mi perdo in verità. Oh, che umor, oh, che donna, io mi perdo in verità. Io mi perdo in verità, in verità. Io mi perdo in verità, in verità, in verità, in verità.
So you're here now in the jury, and you're hearing lots of young artists, and part of your job is listening to young artists. What is something you always look out for? Maybe different in Amsterdam than here? Do you immediately see when someone has that little it?
Well, always when I listen to a young singer, it's important to see that the technique is solved, because sometimes there are still some technical issues.
Yeah.
The technique needs to be solved. Then there's also that it's a voice that can be listened to in a big hall, because as you know, we have an immense
hall, yes.
stage in Amsterdam. And then that the singers not only sing, but they also perform, that they are saying something else than only singing the notes and the text.
Yes.
So there are a lot of things in a young singer that, to see if this young singer can have a career, are all these elements, I think that are very important.
And you always listen to that whole picture.
Yeah, the whole picture. Of course, that sometimes there's potential, because if a singer, for example, that yesterday we listened to a very young contestant that we saw that has a lot of potential. Of course, that has a lot of things to improve. But when there's potential, and you see that there are good elements, then I think it's a good thing also to give good opportunities to these young people.
Yeah, and give them confidence
Exactly.
and feedback. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. So how are you enjoying the IVC? Do you like doing this?
Yeah, it's a fantastic experience. I know Ivan van Kalmhout for a long time ago also, when we worked together in Barcelona. So
right.
it was very nice that they invited me as a member of the Dutch National Opera.
Yeah.
And also the colleagues. It's nice to exchange knowledge with singers such as Leonardo Capalvo or Vasilina Kasarova, who I saw also a long time ago in Barcelona when she sang a fantastic Ruggiero in
amazing.
in Alcina. So, and also I didn't know personally Charlotte Margiono, but she's a wonderful woman also.
Yes.
With a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. So it's nice to combine singers who have the experience of the art form of singing, but also with colleagues from other theaters or casting directors that help. With all of us, we exchange the knowledge, and I think we'll go for the best result.
Ich lade gern mir Gäste ein, man lebt bei mir recht fein.
What do you love most about Holland?
Well, I have to say that I feel very comfortable with the people.
Okay.
It's always said that Dutch people are very direct, but in a way I like it. So I feel comfortable with the Dutch people. The worst part is the weather, but it doesn't matter.
I also didn't want to say, but I figured.
No, but in general, I'm very happy here in the Netherlands. I like Amsterdam; it's a very international city. I like working in the opera, and also, yeah, no complaints at all.
Good. Thank you so much, Damià.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your
Nina,
time.
and see you soon.
See you very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Tomorrow will be a big day. Please join us for the semi-final streaming from 11 onwards. As always, you're very invited to come to the Verkadefabriek and enjoy it live. If you need tickets or any information, go to the website ivc.nu.